So when getting paid for inaccurate late payments, right? When dealing with these items on your credit report, the first thing you have to do is get your hands on the credit reports. And so after doing some research, really the most reliable way to get your credit reports is annualcreditreport.com. I explain to you why, because while it's not efficient, while it takes time, like you have to log into three different bureaus all through the same platform. What this does is it prevents any third party or service or issues. Because what I've learned and from all the experience I've had, work with clients and just from, looking at reports, my free score now is not 100% accurate, right? While it is very reliable, it's helpful for individuals who are helping people process their credit because it gives you a snapshot in one location. You don't have to go look for it in multiple places. This particular situation we're dealing with here, guys, is very different, right? Because we're angling to actually win money from them. And so we have to approach the reporting differently. While as you're disputing your own credit or you're disputing others' credit, it's helpful to have, my free score now, my score IQ, identity IQ, and so forth. Those are really helpful tools. They're not all the way 100% accurate compared to the direct source, right? Because you're getting it directly from the bureaus versus going to a third party who now the bureau's feeding that information to. So we all know that the bureaus already don't report accurate information. So we're getting it from a third party that potentially could be doing the same thing, but they're doing their best trying to get information from the three bureaus. And so the reason why we're using annualcreditreport.com is because you get to pull all three in one shot. And so this is going to be the first step to actually doing this step, right? So if you're noticing you got late payments, this is where you're going to want to pull your three reports from, download them, right? And once you've downloaded them, we're going to now look for any errors. So once you have the reports, you're going to comb through every mark, right? And you're going to mark all the late payment entries. You want to jot them down, just like I've shown you guys in the credit repair campus on how to mark negative late payments or inaccuracies. You're going to do the same thing here. So regardless of whether the late payment was late, guys, I need you to remember that the law states that in order for them to be able to furnish a late payment for any reason whatsoever, they have to have proof that they sent you notice 21 days prior um, to the late payment date, right? Because your due date is on, let's say, the first. You had to have received a statement 21 days prior. That's the only way that the law allows them to furnish it. And these creditors have a difficult time proving that because of the fact that they don't keep track of that. And two, it would have had to have been sent certified mail. So what we're doing here, guys, is we're going to leverage two things. We're going to leverage the credit card agreement, and then we're going to leverage the inaccuracies, and then we're going to leverage the costs that are associated when it comes to actually filing in court, right? Because ultimately, what our angle here is to show them that it's going to cost them more to keep reporting it and go to court and try to fight for it just to keep it than it is to simply remove it. And so that's where I'm going to be taking this, and that's where the angle we're going to approach. And so we're going to strategically be sending letters to the creditor. We're going to send one round to the bureaus. The one for the bureaus is to collect money after the fact, but I'm going to show you what I mean later. Either way, we're going to be making some sort of a win here, whether it's through getting the late payments removed or you're getting the late payments removed and getting paid, right? Because also, one thing a lot of people fail to realize is the removal of a late payment is admittance, right? They're admitting that it is inaccurate by removing it. And so that's why you guys also have to understand how to word the letters, when to send the letters at what time, because the dispute process is very intentional. And how lawyers do it is very, very strategic. They don't actually give them a lot of information, right? And so we're going to go right after them either through court or through arbitration. And this is going to go back to the agreements. And I talk about agreements all the time. I emphasize agreements on a regular basis. I say, read your agreement because that's how you got into the mess, right? Whether it's getting a house, car, whatever situation you're in, there's agreement behind it. You always need that agreement and you need to understand what you signed. And so once we've gotten all this stuff done, we're going to send it out certified mail. There's different avenues we could send it. online certified, or you could use LetterStream like I share in the Credit Repair Campus. And there's also some things that we're going to need to look out for when we're going through this process, right? And so while I've just simply summarized the methods of getting it done, I put together a step by step, right? This is a step by step where it's like you can just hand this over. I could hand this over to you and you'll just follow it, right? Because it's very important that you follow it step by step. It's also another reason I hadn't quite launched this campus is because you can't make mistakes with this stuff, right? You can't mail it to the wrong place. You can't say the wrong thing because it'll just be used against you, right? It's very strategic. The same way we are using this a tactic against them, they're going to do the same in return. And if you don't understand the game or you don't know how to play it correctly, you're setting yourself up for wasting time, right? Because it's not the end of the world if it doesn't work, guys. Just try it again. But this is why I'm trying to get you guys to understand. This isn't just like, oh, we're applying a collection removal method, right? Like this isn't, we could just give it a swing and no, you have to make sure you get it right, right? Because you're trying to set them up to lose. And you have to have all of the right information and all the right evidence for them to actually know that they lost and they're going to keep losing if they continue to pursue keeping it on your credit report. And so as we talked about before, you're going to pull it from the three bureaus. You're going to identify the late payments, right? Now, before you send anything to the creditor, guys, before you send anything to the creditor, you want to send a letter to the three bureaus. And the letter that you're going to send to the three bureaus is right here. It's a three bureau trap letter, right? It's the very same letter I share in the credit campus, only I tweaked it for late payments. Now, this particular letter, guys, is very, very broad. It doesn't really specify what's going on. It doesn't tell them exactly what late payments. You're simply going to inform them what you're seeing on your credit report, right? So you're reporting inaccurate late payments or incomplete late payments, or you can state that they're both inaccurate and incomplete late payments. And this information on my consumer report concerning me, you have compiled and published to third parties. The following trade line item is inaccurate. And so you're going to list the accounts, right? And you're going to list the accounts and you're going to state that the late payments are inaccurate because the alleged late payments are inaccurate because of their claim to be late. And so you are now informing them that. So you're going to wait for them to actually respond to you with the verified because you're going to send them this. And at the end of this, we're asking them to provide proof of the names of the persons, addresses, establishments that they basically communicated with in order to verify this information. We all know they're not going to send that. We all know 𝐬𝐿SCR is going to say verified and update. That's what you want. You don't want it to come back removed, especially when you're doing this process, right? And so, guys, as soon as it comes back verified and updated, now you keep that proof. That's your evidence because we're going to use it all the way through the end, right? And so once we've received that verified and updated, then we move on to the Capital One piece because this is supposed to get you paid twice. You get paid from the creditor and the credit bureau because you're going to use the creditor's proof that they removed it because of the fact that it was inaccurate and they didn't want to go to arbitration or court. And your evidence against the bureaus is coming from the creditor because now you have the credit bureau saying it was verified and updated. Well, as part of the investigation, it should have gone to allegedly Capital One, right? Then how did it come back updated and verified? Now you got them, right? They admitted that it was updated and verified, but now you're going to retrieve proof through the removals of the late payments from the creditor. Now that's the strategy, right? Because if I was to go through and simply send Capital One a letter and I didn't actually try to get an updated and verified response from the bureaus, then you're not really going to build an argument. And two, you don't have evidence. Remember, in court, all they care about is evidence. So your evidence is that updated and verified answer from the bureaus and then the removal from the actual creditor. That simply proves to the courts that they didn't actually investigate this. And so now you're going to have an angle against the bureaus. So this is actually the most important part. And I share this with everybody because no one reads their agreement. Like to this day, I still think a lot of people want to read their agreement. It's ultimately the number one most important thing, whether it's through any process. If you're going to go and apply this with, offsetting debt or simply disputing issues or attempting to identify whether or not you go to court or arbitration, all of that is in your agreement, but you will never know until you read it, right? And so the reason why I pulled this up is because I used Capital One as an example. I screenshotted Capital One section because you want to go to like the dispute resolution / arbitration clause sections of the agreement, right? And it's different, right? It's never going to tell you the same word. And so I'm going to tell you guys now, don't take my information verbatim. Like I just need you to go to the agreement, right? Because a lot of people take my info for verbatim and they're looking for dispute resolution in the agreement. It's worded differently, right? Same thing when it comes to offsetting debt and you want to use a negotiable instrument. They may use words like restrictive endorsement or conditional acceptance. The words are different, but you're still looking for the same section. That doesn't change. And so while there's a million different agreements out there, right? I can't sit here and disclose what the words are, but what I can tell you is exactly where you are going to find this answer. So the credit card agreement is the number one place you're going to go to because here it's telling you where to mail this. If you mail this to any other address for credit disputes, you just went against the agreement. They can use this against you. Well, the agreement states that you were to mail it to P.O. Box 302A1 in Salt Lake City. But if you go ahead and mail it, let's say Capital One address, right? If you go mailing it to 1680 Capital One Drive, McLean, Virginia, like it's over for you. You just went against the agreement. And so the reason you were supposed to go read your agreement is because you're looking for this stuff, right? Now, as I pull up the Capital One agreements, right? Some of you probably wonder, well, how do I pull an agreement? You can go either directly to the website or you can go to CFPB agreements database. And the database is one place you can search for pretty much anything, right? It's not always going to be there, but it's a good tool. It has majority of them, right? And you're going to look for the credit card agreement that you are currently using, right? But another really good source for Capital One is their direct website. But I'm giving you an example. Now, I'm also going to give you an example of one that does and doesn't have an arbitration clause because that's another big thing people miss. People don't understand that if you have an arbitration clause in your agreement and you try to take them to court, you're wasting your time. Unless you waive that arbitration clause within the time frame it allotted, you're wasting your time. So this is an Open Sky credit card, and this is giving information regarding the agreement. So let's see what this is. This is a secured card. No, this is different. You want unsecured. Let me go back to Capital One. You want unsecured. Those are different types of agreements. Majority of people have an unsecured. So we're going to go to the customer cards. This is for an unsecured line of credit. And as you scroll down, you'll be looking for the details, right? It's a promise to pay, the statements, right? Disputed transactions, and so forth. And as you keep scrolling and scrolling, you're looking for where it says credit reports or disputes or inaccurate information or credit bureaus, whatever it is related to credit, guys. And so you're finding it here to determine what instructions it's telling you you must follow when you have anything reported inaccurately. If you believe that we have reported inaccurate information about your account to the credit bureau or consumer reporting agency, notify us in writing. Remember, when you're going to court, you're using the agreement against them as well. And this is why I always tell you guys follow the agreement. It's a basic foundational piece. Just follow the agreement. And as we continue, guys, you'll notice there is no arbitration clause for Capital One. Capital One doesn't have arbitration. So we wouldn't be initiating arbitration with Capital One. You'd be initiating either a small claims or you'd be initiating a court filing through the district court, right? So it's one of those two. But in this particular case, there is no arbitration for Capital One, all right? And you know this how? By reading the agreement. So we go to an Amex agreement, right? Card member agreements. Let's go to this one, right? This is the one most common one people have, Amex. Let's find arbitration. You notice here it says escalating your complaint to the Amex Bank of Canada complaint resolution team. All right. Now, this is an example, right? Amex Bank of Canada, this is in Canada clearly, but I'm showing you that you find this stuff in your agreement. Some have it, the information, the others don't. If your complaint is not closed or resolved within 14 days, following the date of which the complaint was first received, your complaint will automatically be escalated to this team. Alternatively, you may request to escalate it sooner and so forth, right? CTR does not review complaints that have been pursued by others, including litigation and arbitration. Notices and resolution timelines of these procedures do not apply if your complaint does not relate to product or services offered. All right, so they'll ignore it if it has nothing to do with this. And so because this is a completely different country we're talking about, American Express Gold member, all right? Let's click on this one. I'm gonna go through a couple examples with you guys so you can see standard agreements, what they look like, so forth. All right, so I'm gonna search it to speed things up. Arbitration, all right? So we're searching arbitration, right? Claims resolution. Guys, so it's all here for you, right? It says here you may reject the arbitration provisions by sending us a written notice within 45 days after your first card purchase. And so if you don't reject this within 45 days, you're going to arbitration by default because that's what your agreement says, right? And so if you didn't already send them a letter and claim that you reject the arbitration clause, you can't file anything in small claims and you can't file anything in district court because you're going against the agreement. They're going to use this against you. You could do it if you want, but don't be surprised when they come spinning it back on you, right? And they're telling you that the agreement states that you had 45 days to reject it, but you did not. And so arbitration is the resolution method, right? And so this is what they want. And it says sending a claim notice before beginning a lawsuit, mediation, or arbitration. You and we agree to send a written notice, a claim notice, to each party against whom is asserted in order to provide an opportunity to resolve the claim informally through mediation. Right? It's telling you where to go. Go to American Express claim for a sample notice. The claim notice must describe the claim and state of the specific relief demanded. Notice to you may be provided by your billing statement or sent to your billing address. Notice to us may be sent, must include your name, address, account number. It must be sent to American Express ADR, right, in care of CT Corporation Systems. It's telling you where to send it. It's telling you where to send it. I'm not making this up, guys. Like, people don't read their agreement, and when things don't work, they get confused. For this specific resolutions for specific claims. It's telling you where to send it. And if you did not, or if you plan to begin a lawsuit, mediation, or arbitration, you agreed. It says here, you and we agree to send a written notice. So if any of you Amex card holders out there want to sue Amex for whatever reason, and you didn't reject the arbitration clause, this is what you got to follow, or it won't work in your favor. All right. And so that's just some examples, guys, of why it's important to read your agreement. And you're going to read your agreement section of your agreement or your credit card agreement so that you can understand what steps to take. Because I've created two versions of the letter. One is to initiate court, one is to initiate arbitration. Right? And so in this particular case, because there is no arbitration clause with capital one, you're going to go to the court initiating letter. This particular letter is specifically for initiating court, and it doesn't include anything related to arbitration. And so in this letter, what is really different is it covers the damages and the potential costs of having to go to court, right? Because this is all true. When we're dealing with statutory damages, it's guaranteed 1,000 per violation, regardless of the actual loss. And then you have damages where it can vary, right? And I put these ranges here, guys, so you guys can fill in the blank for yourself. You can determine your damages for your situation, right? Punitive is in cases of willful and reckless, you have to be able to prove this. So willful and reckless is like you have full evidence that they admittedly tried to intentionally do it to you, right? Willful is basically like for example I gave you, when you send a letter to the three bureaus, right? And it comes back updated and verified. Then you turn around and get proof from the creditor that they removed it, right? You removed it from the creditor. That's your proof that you can now file a claim of willful, right? You can file a willful claim that they were negligent. They were negligent and it was intentional because you gave them an opportunity to fix it. And now you have evidence that they willfully did not want to fix it. So that's where you accumulate punitive. The actual is different, right? Actuals in the sense where, you were dealing with mental stress or distress. You had a doctor's note that says, this patient couldn't sleep or diagnosed with insomnia because of lack of sleep due to uh, inaccurate information on their credit, or even honestly due to credit denial. If you got denied for things due to late payments and you have proof of the denials and then the late payments that were reporting and then they were inaccurate, that's all damages, but it has to be evidence. This is why we're taking a very strategic approach to this, because from this point on, this is the initial part of gathering evidence. The next part is we're going to the arbitration clause, we're going to dispute resolution section of the agreement to determine how we agreed to settle it. How did you and the company agree to settle it? Most of you don't even know, right? Most of you have credit cards and you don't even know how you would settle it with your credit card holders if you decided to sue them. And that's where I would recommend you guys go, is that agreement. Right? And arbitration costs a lot of money and they don't like to do that. And usually what ends up happening is they're going to end up paying court fee, lawyer fees, and all that other fun stuff on their end and have to cover yours. Right? And they have to cover yours if they lose. And they know that what you're initially trying to do is you're attempting to mediate. And so that's what this first letter is, right? This arbitration letter to the creditor is an attempt to mediate, right? You're attempting to resolve this. And you're simply informing them of the late payments. You're going to list all the accounts. And then you're going to state the two options they have. They have the option to either remove the late payments or initiate arbitration. Now, if they choose not to remove the reported late payments, then you're informing them that you're prepared to initiate arbitration. But you have to be certain that arbitration is part of the agreement clause. So that's what this letter would be appropriate for. And so we list these specifically based on that. I did put 400 because ideally when you do initiate a court claim, it is around 400. If you go small claims, it's like 150, 50 to like 150. It depends, guys. So it's based on your state or county. It's different, right? But that's usually the range. It's usually no more than 400 to do initiation fee, right? The initiation fee doesn't usually cost any more than 400. But there's also ways to get that waived, guys. If you're like tight on budget, you're like, I don't have no way to actually, there's ways for you to sign waivers to waive it, right? And I actually share that. I share that in here. I believe in the suing debt collectors. Yeah, I believe I cover that here. How to get that waived. But that's for another class. Now, back to the steps, right? So if we have already determined where we're at from an arbitration standpoint, are we arbitrating? Are we sending a court initiating letter? You've already built it out using these templates. So these templates are right here. And you're going to basically send them the letter, right? You're going to, once you've received the letter from Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, claiming that those late payments are updated and verified, that's when you start sending this letter out to the bureaus. Now, ideally, when you're highlighting late payment errors that are on your credit report, there's two very common ones, right? There's the wrong date being reported. So what I mean is some people have truly been late, right? What's the date today? The 5th of October. Let's say I was late on the 5th of October, but my credit report was saying that I was late on the 5th of September. Regardless of if I was late, it has to be reporting correctly, right? And so if it's a wrong date reported, then that's what you would state. And if it's multiple back-to-back late payments with no proof, you can leverage that as well. And this should be the ideal claim, guys. If you're an individual that has back-to-back late payments, all right? If you have, a 30-day, 60, 80, 90, 100, 150, that's your claim. Multiple back-to-back late payments with no proof. And then there's cases where you guys have evidence from the creditors. So you can actually request a statement from the creditor, right? Just ask them, hey, can you send me, my statement history, right? Including my late payment history, etc. And you review the statement history. If the statement history shows that you were on time, but the credit report is showing that you were late, then you can use this, right? Mark 30 days late when only 10 to 28 days late, right? And technically, 10 to 28 days is not late because they give you up to 30 days, right? 29 days to be exact. And that's when they report it, is after 29 days, they report you late. Now, once you've gotten to this part, guys, I've seen this happen with multiple situations. I've seen this happen with negotiable instruments when you're attempting to offset debts, and also even with sending letters to creditors. They'll try to call you. And the reason they're trying to call you is they want to bait you into saying something that they can use against you. They want to bait you into saying things. They're good at this. I mean, this is a precautious measure that they have, right? They train people on how to bait you. So you always want to maintain communication through mail only. Why? Because you're documenting everything, and hence why you're sending it certified mail. And having that documentation will allow you to set them up. And they know once they get you to talk on the phone and you make an agreement over the phone, you have no evidence of that. You will have any proof. And so regardless of whether or not they agree to help you in any way, shape, or form, there's no proof. And so this is why I recommend always communicating via mail preferably for this particular case. right? It keeps the paper trail clean and enforceable. It's evidence. So the creditors are going to go and resolve to removing these, right? I had this happen with specifically a charge off with Capital One, right? I submitted a charge off dispute for a Capital One account, and basically within the first round they removed it because we initiated, it wasn't necessarily for late payments, it was a charge off, but I learned that going directly through the creditor was a little bit different but you have to angle it, right? You have to angle it correctly, versus going through the bureaus. Because when you go through the bureaus, you're basically playing telephone. Now the bureaus have to now reach out to the creditors, let them know, hey, they initiated a dispute, and then turn around and basically the system, not even a human, is making those decisions on your behalf. And so the system just needs to match up a couple of addresses, right? A couple of addresses, and that's it. And so most will fall in line, but if you do run into a situation where, they give you pushback, I have a solution, right? And so proving the late payment was nearly impossible for them, guys. And I'm explaining to you why, right? 15 USC 1666B, timing of payments is one of the reasons. This is one of the actual reasons why it's impossible for them to prove it, right? A creditor may not treat a payment on a credit card account under an open-end consumer plan as late for any purpose, unless the creditor adopted reasonable procedures designed to ensure each periodic statement, including the information required by this section, is mailed or delivered to the consumer no later than 21 days before the payment due date. So we're not arguing this. We're not, right? Because we're keeping it very straightforward with the creditors. Now, the reason why we're not being specific as to what our argument is because now we limit ourselves. We limit what we can actually do with them. And so the letter is created to enforce the agreement. You're only enforcing an agreement. We're not enforcing the FCRA here. The FCRA supports what's in the agreement when it comes to credit reporting. But how you get them is you go after the agreement, because that's where they're using against you. You agreed to them that they can report on your behalf. And so now you're going back to that same agreement, and now you're saying, hey, you're not doing anything according to the agreement, and you're not reporting accurate information. So that's what you're doing. You're using the agreement. We're not using these laws. That's why the letters don't have any laws in them, right? The letters have 0 laws in them. It's nearly impossible for them to prove this because they need to have certified mail, guys. How many of you ever received a certified mail for a statement, a monthly statement? Never. You'll never receive a certified mail monthly statement. It's the only way they can prove it. But what does it say here? Unless the creditor adopted reasonable procedures designed to ensure each periodic statement, including the information required by this section, is mailed or delivered to the consumer not later than 21 days before the payment due date. That's just one angle, guys. All right, and I'm showing you guys the FCRA is there to support it, but this particular method requires strategy, and you have to implement it very particular way. So even if they claim they have evidence, they must show legal proof, which they don't, guys. I told you this, right? Why? Because one, what proof are they going to have when they don't have any certified mail letters for all the statements for those particular dates? Now, imagine if you had a late payment back in 2019. Let's say it was June and July 2019. You really think they're housing statements from June, July 2018 or 19? And then 2, they don't send them certified mail, so how can they prove that it was delivered 21 days prior? Right? That's one angle. Right? And so that's your ticket. They have to expose their weakness. It's the same thing as using the FTC affidavit, guys. They have to expose what they're doing to argue, right? They have to. They have to, in order to rebut, they have to expose. So what is it easier for them to do? It's easier for them to just settle and remove. And so that's why this angle is the most effective because it's strategy. It's nothing to do with the laws. It has nothing to do with how crafty we make the letters. No, it's strategy. You angle it like a lawyer would. And so the final playbook is to get the report, spot your errors, right? And hit the money strategy. The money strategy is mainly just getting them set up for failure, right? You're going to get the bureaus to admit that they updated and verified the file. Then you're going to send the letter to the creditor, right? Informing them that you plan on initiating an arbitration based on the agreement or taking them to small claims or court if they fail to update the payment, right? And then keep it all in writing and then watch the results come in, right? And it's a very different approach when we're dealing with disputing, guys. And truthfully, after doing a lot of work and research on this, I really think this may be the best strategy for late payments because I've disputed hundreds of late payments off individuals' credit reports. Our letters do work, but you have to also understand that the bureaus don't really care, right? Because the bureaus are not humans, they're machines. So they don't really care how many rounds you sent or how well your letter is crafted, right? The bureaus don't care. They're not humans, they're a machine, right? And so the machines are going to do what's necessary to keep the machine going, right? So they're just going to process the letter accordingly, and that's it. And so this is ultimately going to be the best strategy. Now, what I will do for you guys is because this is in the litigation campus, I'm going to add these steps. I'm going to add these steps in the credit dispute or credit repair campus. So this entire module is going to end up in the credit repair campus. I'll also post the recording of the video so you guys can have early access to it. All right. And so what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to basically leave it open for you guys to ask questions. Anyone have questions? Anyone have thoughts?
Yeah, I guess mine would be, um, have you ever used that method to remove dispute a charge off, and what happened? Did they just update the charge off to pay and kept it,
Yeah.
or did they? Oh,
No, they removed the whole charge off. Capital
oh,
One.
okay,
I did it directly, and I did it through the CFPB. This one was a little bit different. I did it through the CFPB. This one, we're doing certified mail letters because they removed it. I didn't need to go to court or anything. But as I was going through all of my disputes, I'm like, well, which creditors have I had the most success with? And Capital One is a beast, guys. Like they don't mess around. I mean, how many individuals have you heard of that get items re-reported on their credit from Capital One and Discover? Multiple people. And I had the creditor removing the account.
crazy.
And so this is the same strategy I use for a charge off, but not for a late payment. And now while I put this together, it's because it's strategically going with the credit card agreement. It has nothing to do with the reporting of the just the negative information. Because most of us are only ever disputing what? The negative information on the credit file, right? But how many of us are actually looking at the agreement and determining where to resolve this with the creditor directly versus us sending it to the three bureaus? Three bureaus take forever to handle it. And again, they're a machine. Creditors are a little bit different. And two, these creditors are never going to have the opportunity to prove this. It's another reason why the three bureaus, usually update and verify everything because the creditors have just as hard of a time. And so I'm like, why are we sending all these letters to the creditors? We get results. I've been watching how sometimes the creditors manipulate the file. I've watched I've watched creditors wipe out an entire list of late payments and then add a random one at the very beginning of their report, making it inaccurate. And so what happens at that point? You're back to square one. It's like even if I wiped out 50 late payments, but they still added one and it's inaccurate. Now, when you know things like that, all you simply do is ask for a payment statement or a statement from the creditor and use that as proof that it is inaccurately reporting. Because even if you were late, you still have proof it's inaccurate. And so the angle that I'm sharing with you guys here is to set them up. It's basically you're baiting them. You're baiting them to make those mistakes. You're baiting them to admit. And that's why this is going to be the most effective because everything I've tried, we're
That
going after
initial,
we're going after the
uh,
wrong one. We're going after the bureaus when we should just be going straight after
uh,
the creditors for late payments.
that
Go ahead.
initial dispute though, you say you just gonna be kind of vague, so you ain't gonna give up too much. So
It's very vague, very
yeah,
vague. So we're just telling them exactly how many late payments.
but you're
We're
not
telling
being
them how
specific.
many
Yeah,
late payments and that you believe it's inaccurate because the dates the alleged late payments weren't or you weren't late on those alleged dates, right? That's could be your reason. You weren't late on the alleged dates or it's wrong late payment reporting or it's inaccurate late payment reporting, incomplete, and this is where it's going to be really important for you guys to understand how to read the credit report because you have to pinpoint the exact problem. You have to pinpoint the exact problem. And so this is still very vague. Why? Because we're not sending them a highlighted copy of all of the errors,
yeah.
right? You're going to just send them a copy of your credit report, but you're listing the accounts. You're giving them the accounts, but you're not telling them, hey, this 60 days inaccurate, that 30 is inaccurate. Guess whose job it is to investigate? It's theirs. So they're supposed to be doing the due diligence of checking with the creditors, making sure that it was legitimately late, whether that's asking for statements. I mean, that's ideally what they're supposed to be doing, guys. I mean, even if they were late, they should have been asking for a statement and proof that, you know, that they sent you um a statement 21 days before the due date, right? That's proof that they can report legally. Outside of that, it's not legal. A lot of people claim that, late payments are illegal. They're not if that creditor has that proof. It states it. Anyone that says late payments are illegal, the FCR says otherwise. It says if they provide proof or they have reasonable procedures in place, right, to basically get that statement to you within 21 days prior to the actual due date, and then they can prove that, they're legitimately reporting it. Anything else is not. So,
Speaking of that, right? Does like paperless billing affect that?
sorry, what was that?
Does paperless billing affect that?
I was just about
Like,
that.
can they say, oh yeah, we just emailed you copy of we emailed you your periodic statement?
That would be considered the 21 days.
No, no, because they still have to prove it.
Gotcha.
They still have to prove it, guys. They can't prove it. How can they confirm that you received it for sure? Like it was delivered to you and you got it. They can't.
Yeah, they can't see that you read it.
No, they
Type
can't see
it's
nothing.
an email.
That's a really good question, Teddy, man. That billing list. Either way,
So
they
like
have to be able to prove it.
I always heard to opt out of paperless
Always.
billing because of that because the law says specifically it was mailed or delivered 21
Mhm.
days. So I always just me personally I always opt out because of that, but I didn't
Oh
know if
yeah.
that would be an issue. Yeah.
That should be with everything, guys. When you're dealing with
Yeah, I opt out. Yeah.
billing statements, anything paper related, anything money related, when it comes to bills, credit reporting, just do paper. Always do paper. It's standard and it's honestly the number one way to actually enforce it. right?
Because they can just say, hey, well, we emailed it to you. But I never ran into that, but I was just wondering if you had, you know what I'm saying, ever experienced that or not.
No, no, actually, I never read into it because I never opted into electronic.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I never opted into electronic. I always did paper.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's this particular process is all revolved around strategy, simply strategy. And now, what I will say is, I do recommend that you guys use a notary when it comes to the creditor letter with court initiating or arbitration, because one, it will be more powerful. Two, lets them know you're really serious. I mean, for you, those of you who may be using Dispute Fox, or you simply just go to your bank, your local bank, and get it notarized, right? It's pretty straightforward. It's free at the bank, but you can just do it online if you don't feel like going to the bank. But I recommend adding a notary. It just always makes it that much more powerful. And this is how I'm going to start initiating late payment disputes, because like the letters work, it just takes longer than it should. And we know the strategy, and I've done so many different ways of submitting late payments and getting rid of late payments. I mean, I've seen hundreds of late payments fall off of individuals' accounts, but then I've also seen the opposite where it's like it doesn't make any difference if you removed 600 and there's one still left. It really doesn't. Because a late payment is hitting you 100 points guaranteed. It's hitting you 100 points guaranteed. And so if you don't get all of them off, it really does you no good how well the letter worked for most of them. The goal here is to get all of them off, right? And so I'm always looking for new solutions for problems that we may face, especially dealing with this stuff. And so this is an angle that's going to teach you not only how to collect some money from this through court initiation and get better results directly with the creditor. Now, it is going to require a little bit more work, right? You guys, if you're dealing with, let's say you're helping clients or individuals, of course, you're going to need to like have them review like credit card agreements, or you're going to need to know what credit card agreements they have, to determine what their agreement says. Because if you're going to implement this process for a client, you need to understand this stuff, right? You need to be good with agreements. Once you get good with agreements, guys, you'll be unstoppable, because once I started really understanding how the agreements work, they're all pretty much the same. They just have different words, and they're from different companies.
How many letter are we using with this? We're using basically one to the CRAs, one to the creditor, and another one, like three
No,
letters to
two,
arbitrate if anything.
just two.
Oh, so this is the second letter we're seeing.
Yeah, so the first letter is to trap the three bureaus, right?
Okay,
So
yeah.
you're gonna trap the three bureaus. You know for a fact that they're gonna come back and say updated, verified. That's what you want. I mean, think about it. We're in a
Right.
position that now we're trapping them. We're like, all right, we know how the game they're gonna play. They're gonna update and verify this, right? And so once they say updated and verified, we're now gonna send a, depending on whether your credit card agreement or agreements have arbitration clause, you're going to use the arbitration letter. Now, if they don't, if there is no arbitration clause, if it doesn't state that you agreed to to settle an arbitration, then you just initiate a court dispute, right? You're going to go to either small claims or U.S. District Courthouse, right? And these are usually the fees associated. And so you're going to inform them in this letter that, hey, I'm willing to just go this far right now, if you don't remove this. And this is how much it'll cost you. This is basically what we're telling them. Because instead of wasting your time and saying, hey, I don't agree with this late payment, blah, 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 it's inaccurate, they're just going to come back to you with literally a creditor statement. But when you're speaking money and you're like, hey, look, that's giving you an opportunity. The agreement said that I should send you a notice, right? Like Amex. Amex said, hey, if you want to, you want to initiate any lawsuits or any disputes, simply send me a notice so that we can settle this amicably, right? And that's for us to resolve this without going to court. And so that's what we're doing here if we were following the Amex agreement. And so you guys also have to read your agreement to determine what it is that they want you to do before you go to court. Because if you don't follow what the agreement says, this isn't going to work for you. You have to read the agreement.
Nice.
Have to read the agreement. So the agreement, back to everything, guys. The agreement is literally your key. Your key to everything. To debt offsets, you're using negotiable instruments. It's your key to settling credit disputes, your key to arbitrating, your key to going to court and suing. It's all through the agreement. Because that's what they're doing to you. They're coming through the agreement to you. Because that's what you agreed to do. I mean, I just finished reading that Amex agreement, and it specifically stated that you agreed, that you and we agree to settle this off the record before we decide to initiate any lawsuits or disputes. And if that goes over your head, then they're going to use it against you. You're going to go through all the filings, the court, you're going to send all these letters, and you show up to court, and they're going to slap the agreement right on the table and say, hey, look, this is what we agreed to. And unfortunately, it wasn't followed. And now it's in favor of them. Now you wasted time.
And this letter, you're also sending the verified that you got from the CRAs, right?
No. You keep that. That's your evidence.
Oh.
So you're gonna keep that,
So these
right?
are all standalone letters. This is just
Yeah.
separate standalone letters.
So you're gonna send a letter to the three bureaus, right? You send it to the three bureaus, and then once you send it to the three bureaus, they're gonna come back updated, verified. Then you keep it. You don't send it to no one else. Keep it. Now we're going to send the court initiating letter or the arbitration letter, depending on your circumstance, right? Depending on whether you signed an agreement with arbitration or whether you signed an agreement that didn't have arbitration, right? It's case by case. So it's only one letter, but it depends on your situation. So you're going to send a letter to the creditor. And then let's say the creditor ends up removing those late payments. Now you could turn around and sue the bureaus for some money.
He's slick.
Because
That's
because
slick.
the
Yeah.
creditors already fixed it.
No,
The
no,
So
I
bureau,
let me ask
understand.
you,
the
That
bureau said it was
what happens
1681I,
if the
they didn't
creditors?
do a procedure. They didn't do a right procedure and verification and
correct.
stuff like that. So that's what you're suing them for on the procedure
Correct.
side. So I understand where you're getting at.
You see what
Okay,
I'm
okay.
saying? You're holding off on the bureaus because you're like, all right, I got the proof now. Let me fix this with the creditors using this method.
Capital One. So if Capital One don't remove it, you just do like a dispute with, or like a rebuttal with them.
Yeah, so if Capital One does not remove it after this letter, guys, right? This is where you could just simply initiate a court complaint and they'll stop before it goes to court.
They'll stop what?
They'll stop the whole thing. They'll try to settle with you.
So
So
like you ain't even sending no round two. You go
No, you
you
not
go
go
right
straight.
everything's
You
to
hit the
round
it.
button.
one. Well, he's
Yeah,
just saying round one, everybody.
That's
that's
it.
it. Hit the
That's it.
button.
But
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
it still could be a 60-day or at more than 30 day. It feels like
Correct.
a round two still because you're
Yeah.
waiting for the first response from the first
Correct.
people. And then you
Correct.
following up with the second response to the actual creditor or original creditor. And then you whatever response you get there, you know who if you're filing against these three or if you're filing against these four.
Correct. And so you wait the 30 days. It could take 21, it could take 25. It depends on how quickly they get back with the updated verified. And once you have that evidence, all right, now you just focus on the creditors.
Okay. My question is too, because I tried your other one. It had worked before one of my clients, and then it did not work with one of my clients.
Yeah, that's
And
what I'm
then
saying.
so
It works. It's just it's not consistent, and we don't have time for that.
not but since it didn't work, could I just go through this or something like this, or like would I just start brand new and go through this process?
It depends on whether that letter came back updated, verified. If you send it to the three bureaus and they came back recently updated and verified, you can use that and save that evidence and just go straight to the bureaus at this point. Because all you need is that you attempted to address this and it came back updated, verified with the three bureaus. Now you're not dealing with the bureaus. We're going directly to the creditors. And so that's the focus here. We're setting up a trap for the bureaus, and then we're dealing with the creditors.
Mm. And one more question. If you're gonna file a lawsuit, would you put all these people's name on it? I mean, let's say you have three creditors that you have late payments with, like Capital One, Bank of
Hmm.
America, Chase. Would you put all three of them on the lawsuit after? Because like let's say it don't work when you send it to this to the directly the original creditor. Would you put all their name on the lawsuits or would you file separate
You file
lawsuits?
separate because you're dealing with different creditors. And remember, their agreements are different. And so read
Okay.
their agreement. So let's say you got Bank of America, Chase, and Capital One. One of the two probably gonna have an arbitration clause in there. And so it's gonna be different. You're gonna be approaching it different. And so you have to read each individual agreement and then follow the process. And that's why it's step three, right? You read the agreement. Once you finish sending this letter, read the agreement for each company and then follow the process. These are all good questions. And so, as you can see here, it's not about disputes, it's strategy. You're playing a game. Like you have
Well,
now you're collecting evidence.
I have,
And so
I have one more question too. I'm sorry, my
go
fault.
ahead.
Because when I disputed with the bureaus, sometimes they just don't say nothing. Non-response.
Yeah, and so
What do I say with something
I have a
like?
letter for that, I believe.
Because we're trying to do this process, but it's like they non-response, and I'm trying to tell them it's inaccurate. So it's like, do we
Mhm.
still push forward with this, or we
For the
would like
creditor,
nah to the CRAs, and if they just not responded,
that's weird. I mean, you
as
said
in like. As in, like they never gave me no letter back in the mail. They never gave none of those back. I got the update, as in like this has been updated online and stuff like that. But do I get
that's your
like the
evidence.
state?
That's your
Okay.
evidence. Yeah. If you're getting an update verified status online, that's evidence. Just screenshot that.
Yeah, just screenshot the dispute is over and just
That's
take a
it.
screenshot of that the
That's
dispute.
it. And I think you
Okay.
you get like the report number from your dispute results.
Yeah, because sometimes Equifax don't be showing you that. They just say it's completed. And then when you click on Equifax, you could just go through your report and see kind of what's going on type
That's
stuff, you
it.
know?
All you need is a dispute completed, the report number, and then your credit report showing that nothing changed.
Okay.
You don't really need you don't need anything formal, right? You just need that confirmation. As long as you have a report number and then you have evidence that nothing was changed, the late payments are still there before and after, that's it. You're good to go. Everything just comes back down to the proof. What can you prove? Well, I can prove that I submitted a dispute, came back updated, verified. I went to the creditor, they removed the late payments. Now I'm coming back to sue the creditor. I mean, the credit reporting agencies.
Okay. So even if it's accurate, like let's say each bureau has one late payment on this one account, like like last month I was late, and then each bureau says last month I was late 30 days. I would just still attack them the same way, and it was still like
Correct.
same.
Because either way, guys, even if you were late, they still have to prove everything. The burden of proof is on them, guys.
Yeah.
Even
And
if you were
most.
late, I'm trying to explain this to you. Like
Mhm.
once you submit a dispute, they gotta prove. That's it. But the issue we run into is we're going up against a machine, as I said before, and the machines do not care. They're heartless. So when you get upset or results don't show up, it's not a human looking at your file and saying, "Well, I'm just going to keep this late payment on here." It's all an
Mm.
information game. And
Mm.
so whatever information they have on you, they're going to continue to leverage.
And that is true. Now you're saying that in this letter, you are saying if you spoke to somebody, if you did speak to anybody, send it in
Right.
the first letter. You did say that, and they are supposed to speak to somebody.
Correct. If whoever you verify this info with, just let me know who it was so that I can verify, I can circle back. It's an investigation. Guys, it's like somebody robbed your house and you got police officers and witnesses around, and the witnesses are giving information, right? And now the police officers come back to you, say, "Hey, well, we spoke with this neighbor and that neighbor, and this is what they say, and they saw the witnesses come out the back." That's evidence, bro. That's witnesses, and that's what they're doing. They're investigating an inaccuracy problem. And so what they're not doing is that. What they're doing is their machine is just doing all of it, matching up data and then coming back updated and verified. That's it.
If they start
These are awesome questions, man. Awesome questions. Do you guys have any other questions? It's very different. Like I said, I'm gonna be adding
So
that
you
to the
say
credit repair campus.
the litigation campus is not open yet. So you
Now,
just
yeah,
say the
I'm gonna add that for you guys on here and also add the video into the credit campus. You guys can have that. Litigation campus is on the tail end of being wrapped up. This is the type of stuff that I'll be covering in this entire campus. I mean, I've already gone over the bankruptcy blueprint, and there's a video live in the campus, and how to sue debt collectors, right? We've covered a lot of this stuff, and there's a lot of value in here. It's just you guys have to understand that you can't miss any steps. Just like I was showing you, you can't miss reading the agreement. Like you may have this letter here available to you. You miss reading the agreement clause, you just threw it all out, right? And so it's very delicate, very, very delicate. This isn't anything different from this is different from actual disputes. This is you're going up against them face to face, right? Awesome. So I did cover what I'll be sharing on this week's call. Tomorrow specifically, guys, I'm gonna be covering how to arbitrate through Experian. All right, I'm trying to find the post I made. Here it is. All right, so tonight we went over late payments and lawsuits, right? Tomorrow we're going over the arbitration for Experian. So I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna break down the arbitration clause, how to set them up, right? And now how we can now take them to arbitration after we just finished learning about late payments and lawsuits, right? How we can now sue them after we got evidence from the creditors through arbitration. Because for a lot of you guys, you don't realize if you have an online platform with them, if you have online credit monitoring service, you went into an agreement with them to arbitrate, right? And so I want to show you how to leverage that. I want to show you the breakdown on what that looks like tomorrow's call. And then on Tuesday, we'll be diving into bill remittance, right? I'm going to be breaking down step by step, specifically all of the new learnings that I've had related to what qualifies a negotiable instrument, what are the requirements, the two different types of negotiable instruments, and basically the proper way of filling out a negotiable instrument, right? Because there's different ways. And so we'll be covering the launch on Tuesday. You guys are going to have that live. So on that call, you guys are going to be joining, and it's going to go live that night. So tune in, and this call has been recorded. So I'm going to be posting this in the campus for you guys over the next day or two. But in the meantime, you got any questions, don't hesitate to drop them in the Q&A.
all right, man. Well, definitely appreciate you, man.
Awesome,
Try to
guys.
lock
Enjoy
in, man. Get back, lock in on it.
Let's go, man. Lock
Yeah,
in.
so we locked in. All right, man. I appreciate you and everything, man.
Oh, man.
All
Take
right,
care,
y'all.
everyone. You have a good night.
All right.
All right, y'all. All right, Reed.
Thanks, Eric.
Everything.
All right, man.
All right, y'all. All right.